This is a Fox News alert. Protesters taking to the streets yet again in Chicago, this time targeting the Windy City's high-end Magnificent Mile shopping district. They're trying to put a dent in the local economy on Black Friday, the busiest shopping day of the year. Demonstrators continuing to press their outrage over this week's release of police dashcam video showing the 2014 fatal shooting of 17-year-old Lachlan McDonald, shot 16 times by Officer Jason Van Dyke, who is now charged with first-degree murder. Protesters are calling for the resignation of Police Superintendent Gary McCarthy and for a federal investigation into his department. Okay, Kat, these protests could potentially boil over today. That was one of the things that we've seen. They say they want to disrupt this economy. One of the protesters telling our own Mike Tobin that they want to do it to get the attention of people. But is this really the right way to go about it?
No, and I support the protesters in terms of that video was disturbing and it was horrible. But why do you want to make something worse by saying, yes, we actually want to harm the economy today? Everybody knows that retail sales are down and that that's a problem, especially we're expecting more spending. And I don't want to go out there and go shopping as it is today because I think it's crazy. So if these people who are still out there shopping, good for them. But I don't know why making things worse is the way to make anything better. I just don't get that strategy at all.
I mean, that's true. I mean, that video was so atrocious on its own that you almost lose certain people, Julie. If you try and do damage, then their argument somehow gets missed.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you just said. And I also don't understand why there's no more attention. Maybe there is. I'm not in Chicago, paid to Rahm Emanuel and his police commissioner. The reality is, this video was forced to be released by a judge, and then lo and behold, around the same time, they indict this police officer, or they charge this police officer, excuse me. For an entire year, they try to cover this whole thing up. Nobody wanted to talk about it. Suddenly, a judge forces the release of the video, and the mayor stands up and makes a statement. Well, how about making a statement before that?
I think they didn't want to release the video because they were going through an election cycle, and
and
the mayor was not doing very well, and they were, of course, they were holding it back. And now, the time passed. He won the election, and now the judge told him to release the video. And this also adds fuel to the fire because when you have this type of evidence, look, every profession, there are bad doctors, there are bad lawyers, bad police officers. They're isolated cases. But the state government and the city government, every time they pull one of these things where they hold the evidence, they don't talk to the leaders of the community, it creates the whole buildup. And this is exactly why they're paying the price in Chicago today. Because when you don't have transparency and you come out and say, look, this guy, maybe he was not a good guy, but this has no reflection because the police nowadays has to do so many other jobs. If you talk to a police officer in the 1950s, hey, robbers and murders and shooting and all that. Well, now we have, they have to look at terrorism. They have to look at so many things.
And this is sort of a distraction from that, Harris. I mean, we're moving away with these protests from the issue at hand, which Julie outlined. I mean, the real issue at hand.
Well, I'll tell you what the issue is right now, what's playing out live on our screen, because what they are seeking, obviously, is exactly what they're getting. They want attention for their voices to be heard about the anger that they feel in terms of this case. I've interviewed attorneys recently who have told me that there are many reasons why there was the suppression of the videotape, and they had an investigation that they felt they needed to get right. I've also had attorneys tell me and judges tell me that they may have overreached with the first-degree murder, and they may have to walk that back. Yeah. And if and when that happens, and now that the tape is out, that date of inevitability may be there, and people may get angry yet. But for right now, one of the organizers of what you're watching here is the Reverend Jesse Jackson. He has said that any promises that might have been made on social media about civil disobedience, he does not anticipate any of that to happen. Local religious leaders are saying that the damage to the economy, if you will, has already been done just in the publicity about them doing this. Some had threatened to block the entrances to some of the, these are some of the most luxurious shops along Michigan Avenue, which does disturb the flow of cash, if you will, but it also just sends the message of you don't want to come down here. And so that hurts those businesses in that sense. But they are getting what they want right now, and that is the attention. We hope it and anticipate, according to the Reverend Jackson, that it will stay peaceful.
All right, we hope that. Absolutely. And we will keep an eye on all those things there in Chicago and bring you any breaking news. In the meantime, Donald Trump is now firing back after the GOP candidate is accused of mocking a reporter's disability. Trump's campaign so far has been unscathed by the controversies that have faced them. But could this change all that? Plus, Hillary Clinton's campaign facing a challenge of its own over what some are calling an enthusiasm gap. What that means and how it could impact her campaign. Up next.